So, you're telling me that on your planet, the very air can kill you. Xylox's gelatinous form quivered with what Zara assumed was either excitement or terror. It was hard to tell with a blob. Zara sighed, tossing her duffel bag onto the weirdly spongy bed in her new dorm room. For the millionth time, Xylox, oxygen doesn't kill us. We need it to breathe. But its corrosive Xylox's eye stalks waved frantically. It oxidizes things. Yeah, well, so does your face, Zara muttered, immediately regretting the lame comeback. First day at Galactic Academy, and she was already losing her cool. Granted, being the only human in a school full of aliens was bound to be stressful, but she hadn't expected the Spanish Inquisition about Earth's atmosphere within the first 5 minutes of meeting her roommate. Xylox made a gurgling sound that might have been a laugh. I don't have a face, silly earthling. I'm a blobone. We're all faced to demonstrate. Xylox's entire body rippled, and suddenly Zara was staring at a gelatinous mirror image of herself. Okay, that's both cool and creepy, Zara admitted, watching as her doppelganger winked at her before melting back into Xylox's usual amorphous form. But seriously, can we talk about something other than how everything on Earth is apparently trying to kill me? I'm nervous enough as it is. Xylox's body shifted to a soothing blue color. Of course. My apologies, Zara. It's just so fascinating. But you're right. Let's focus on getting you settled in. Do you need help unpacking your, what did you call it, duffel bag? Zara smiled, grateful for the change of subject. Thanks, but I've got it. Although I'm not sure where to put my clothes. Do you guys even wear clothes? Clothes. Xylox's form rippled in confusion. Oh, you mean those fabric coverings some species use? We learned about those in xenobiology. Most students here don't need them, but we have storage units for personal items. Xylox oozed over to a wall panel and pressed what looked like a random spot. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a compartment. Here you go. Your very own storage unit. It's keyed to your biosignature, so only you can open it. Cool. Thanks, Zara said, starting to unpack her belongings. As she placed her clothes and personal items in the storage unit, she couldn't help but feel a pang of homesickness. Everything here was so alien, from the spongy beds to the blobby roommate. She missed the familiar sights and sounds of Earth, even the constant danger that apparently made her home planet a deathworld in the eyes of the galactic community. So, Xylox, Zara said, trying to distract herself from her melancholy thoughts, what's your home planet like? Xylox's body shimmered with excitement. Oh, Bloboria is wonderful. It's a low-gravity world with vast oceans of nutrient-rich fluids. We blobones spend most of our time floating in the currents, absorbing nutrients and information through osmosis. Information through osmosis? Zara raised an eyebrow. You mean you literally soak up knowledge? Indeed, Xylox burbled happily. Our entire education system is based on immersive learning. We simply float in information-rich fluids and absorb the data directly into our cellular structure. Zara chuckled. Man, that sounds way easier than Earth schools. We have to sit at desks and listen to teachers drone on for hours. Fascinating. Xylox's eye stalks perked up. So you learn through auditory input. How inefficient. No wonder your species had to evolve to survive on a death world. You must need all that extra brain power just to process information. Hey, watch it, Jello shot, Zara retorted, her pride slightly stung. We humans might not absorb knowledge through our skin, but we do all right for ourselves. I mean, we made it to space, didn't we? Xylox's form rippled in what Zara was beginning to recognize as laughter. Indeed you did, and it's quite impressive. I meant no offense, Zara. I'm simply trying to understand your species better. It's not every day one gets to room with a deathworlder. Zara was about to reply when a chime sounded throughout the room. A holographic display materialized in the center of the room, showing a tall, willowy alien with iridescent skin and 4 arms. Attention, new students, the alien said, its voice melodious and soothing. Welcome to Galactic Academy. I am Dean Zyson. The orientation ceremony will begin in 30 minutes in the Grand Atrium. Please make your way there now. Remember, punctuality is a virtue prized across the galaxy. The hologram winked out of existence, leaving Zara and Xylox staring at each other. Well, Zara said, trying to inject some enthusiasm into her voice, I guess it's showtime. Ready to face the music, Rumi?
Xylox's body shifted into a vaguely humanoid shape, albeit one that still looked like it was made of lime jello. Music? I wasn't aware there would be a musical performance at the orientation. How delightful. Zara couldn't help but laugh. It's just an expression, Xylox. It means, you know what? Never mind. Let's just go.
As they made their way through the winding corridors of Galactic Academy, Zara couldn't help but gawk at her surroundings. The architecture was unlike anything she'd ever seen on Earth, with organic-looking structures that seemed to grow out of the floors and ceilings. Alien students of all shapes, sizes, and consistencies hurried past them, chattering in a cacophony of languages that her universal translator struggled to keep up with. So Zara said, trying to distract herself from the overwhelming alienness of it all, "What's your major, Xylox?" Xylox, who had been stretching and contracting its body to keep pace with Zara's walking speed, burbled happily, "I'm studying xenohydrology. The study of alien water systems is fascinating. Did you know that some planets have oceans of liquid methane? Imagine swimming in that." "I'd rather not," Zara muttered, suppressing a shudder. "I think I'll stick to good old H2O, thanks." "And what about you?" Zara Xylox asked. "What field of study brings a human to Galactic Academy?" Zara hesitated for a moment. "I'm here for the Interspecies Relations program," she said finally. "Earth is still pretty new to the galactic community, and we need people who can navigate all the cultural differences and potential misunderstandings." "Oh, how exciting!" Xylox exclaimed, its body turning a bright shade of yellow. "You must be very brave to take on such a responsibility, especially coming from a Deathworld." Zara rolled her eyes. "You know, Earth isn't actually called Deathworld, it's just Earth. And it's not that bad, really. Sure, we have some dangerous animals and extreme weather, but it's home, you know." Before Xylox could respond, they arrived at the Grand Atrium. Zara's jaw dropped as she took in the massive space. The ceiling, if you could call it that, seemed to be a window into space itself, with stars and nebulae swirling overhead. The floor was a shimmering surface that looked like liquid metal, but felt solid underfoot. Thousands of alien students were already gathered, forming a sea of diverse life forms that made Zara feel simultaneously awed and very, very small. "Wow," she breathed, unable to come up with a more eloquent response to the spectacle before her. "Impressive, isn't it?" a voice said from behind them. Zara turned to see a tall, insectoid alien with iridescent wings and large, compound eyes. "I'm Crixix, by the way, third-year student in xenobiology, and you must be the human everyone's talking about." Zara blinked in surprise. "Everyone's talking about me." Crix's antennae twitched in what might have been amusement. "Of course, it's not every day we get a student from a Class 12 Deathworld. Most species would go extinct before developing space travel in such harsh conditions." "Class 12 Deathworld," Zara repeated, feeling a headache coming on. "Look, I don't know what you've heard, but Earth isn't some kind of hellscape. We have beaches and forests and..." She was cut off by a sudden hush falling over the crowd. At the center of the atrium, a holographic image of Dean Zyson appeared, towering over the assembled students. "Welcome, young minds of the galaxy," the dean's voice boomed, somehow managing to sound both enthusiastic and serene at the same time. "You stand at the threshold of a grand adventure. Here at Galactic Academy, you will push the boundaries of your knowledge, challenge your preconceptions, and forge bonds of friendship that transcend the vast distances between your homeworlds." As the dean continued his welcome speech, Zara found her attention wandering. She scanned the crowd, taking in the dizzying array of alien life forms. There were creatures that looked like walking crystals, others that seemed to be made of living fire, and even a group of what appeared to be sentient gas clouds. "And now," the dean said, snapping Zara's attention back to the speech, "I'd like to take a moment to recognize some of our more unique students this year. We are particularly honored to welcome our first student from the planet Earth, a Class 12 Deathworld." Suddenly, every eye or sensory organ in the atrium was turned towards Zara. She felt her face flush as a spotlight materialized out of nowhere, illuminating her in a soft blue glow. Zara Schmidt, the dean continued, either oblivious to or ignoring her discomfort, "Would you please step forward and say a few words about your homeworld?" Zara froze, her mind going blank. She had prepared for a lot of things before coming to Galactic Academy, but impromptu speeches about Earth hadn't been on the list. She felt a gentle nudge from behind and turned to see Xylox giving her an encouraging ripple. Taking a deep breath, Zara stepped forward. The floor beneath her feet shimmered, and she found herself being lifted into the air on a platform of the same liquid metal substance. In moments, She was floating at eye level with the holographic Dean, facing the sea of alien faces. Hi, she began, wincing at how small and uncertain her voice sounded. I'm Zara, and I'm from Earth. And, despite what you might have heard, it's really not that bad. A murmur ran through the crowd. Zara saw looks of disbelief, curiosity, and in some cases, outright fear on the faces or equivalent features of her fellow students. I mean, sure, we have some dangerous animals, she continued, warming to her topic. And yeah, our weather can be pretty extreme sometimes, but we also have beautiful forests and vast oceans and mountains that touch the sky. We have art and music and literature that captures the human experience in all its complexity. She paused, looking out at the sea of alien faces. Some looked intrigued, others skeptical, but they were all listening. I guess what I'm trying to say is, Zara went on, her voice growing stronger, Earth isn't just a death world. It's a world of contrasts. It's harsh, yeah, but it's also beautiful. It's dangerous, but it's also full of life. And maybe that's why we humans are the way we are. We're shaped by our world, just like all of you are shaped by yours. She took another deep breath, suddenly aware that she was rambling. Anyway, I'm really excited to be here and learn about all of your worlds too. Thanks for having me. There was a moment of silence, and then the atrium erupted in a cacophony of alien applause. Some students clapped appendages together, others vibrated or flashed bioluminescent patterns. The dean's hologram smiled approvingly. Thank you, Zara, for that. Illuminating perspective, the dean said, as the platform lowered Zara back to the floor. I'm sure we all look forward to learning more about Earth and its people during your time here. As Zara made her way back to Xylox and Crixix, she could hear excited whispers and other forms of communication all around her. Did you hear that? They have oceans.
I wonder what a forest is.
How can anything survive in extreme weather?
Crixix's antennae were practically vibrating with excitement. That was fascinating, Zara. I have so many questions about Earth's ecosystems. Would you mind if I interviewed you for my xenobiology project?
Before Zara could respond, Xylox oozed forward. Now, Crixix. Let's not overwhelm our new friend. I'm sure Zara will have plenty of opportunities to share about her homeworld. Right now, we should focus on the rest of the orientation. Zara shot a grateful look at her blobby roommate. Thanks, Xylox. And sure, Crixix, I'd be happy to talk more about Earth later. But maybe we could also talk about your worlds. I'm just as curious about where you guys come from.
The rest of the orientation passed in a blur of information about class schedules, campus facilities, and academic expectations. By the time it was over, Zara's head was spinning with new terms and concepts. She followed Xylox back to their dorm room, grateful for her roommate's natural bioluminescence, guiding the way through the unfamiliar corridors.
As they entered their room, Xylox turned a questioning shade of green. So Zara, how are you feeling after your first taste of Galactic Academy? Zara flopped onto her spongy bed, staring up at the ceiling, which seemed to be slowly shifting through a pattern of constellations. Honestly? Overwhelmed, excited, terrified. All of the above. Xylox made a sound that might have been a chuckle. That's perfectly normal. I felt the same way when I first arrived. Well, minus the terror. Blowbones don't really do fear, but the point stands. Zara propped herself up on her elbows, looking at her gelatinous roommate. Can I ask you something, Xylox?
Of course. That's what roommates are for, isn't it? Well, that and ensuring optimal living conditions through shared responsibility and mutual respect. But questions are definitely on the list.
Right, Zara said, smiling despite herself. Well, I was wondering, what do you really think about humans? About Earth? Be honest. Xylox was silent for a moment, its form shifting through various shades of blue and green. Finally, it settled on a soft lavender color.
Honestly, Zara, I think humans are fascinating. Terrifying, yes, but in the most intriguing way possible. You come from a world that, by all accounts, should have killed you off long ago. Instead, you've not only survived but thrived. You've developed technology, culture, art, all while dodging death at every turn. It's impressive.
Zara felt a warmth in her chest at Xylox's words. Thanks, Xylox, that actually means a lot. But Xylox continued, its color deepening to a more serious purple. I also think you have a lot to learn. The galaxy is a big place, Zara. There are wonders out there that would make even your Deathworld seem tame by comparison, and dangers that make Earth look like a paradise. Zara nodded slowly. Yeah, I'm starting to get that. I guess that's why I'm here, right? To learn about all of that. Exactly, Xylox's body rippled with enthusiasm. And we're here to learn from you too. That's the beauty of Galactic Academy, it's a melting pot of knowledge from across the cosmos. Zara couldn't help but grin at her roommate's excitement. A melting pot, huh? Careful, Xylox, or you might just turn into a human idiom yourself. Xylox's form shimmered in what Zara was beginning to recognize as laughter. Oh my, is that what that was? How delightful. I must make a note to study more of these idioms. They seem most efficient for communication. As if on cue, a chime sounded throughout the room, followed by a holographic display materializing in the center of the space. It showed a complex schedule that Zara assumed was for their classes. Ah, our class assignments, Xylox burbled excitedly. Let's see what intellectual feast awaits us tomorrow. Zara squinted at the holographic display, trying to make sense of the alien symbols and time units. Xylox? A little help here? I can't read any of this. Oh, of course. My apologies, Zara. I forget sometimes that not all species have universal translation implants. Xylox oozed closer to the display. It seems our first class tomorrow is Fundamentals of Xenobiology. How exciting. Zara's eyes widened. Xenobiology? But I'm not a science major. I'm here for interspecies relations, remember. Xylox's body shifted to a reassuring blue hue. Not to worry, Zara. All first-year students at Galactic Academy take a core curriculum to ensure a well-rounded education. Xenobiology is essential for understanding the diverse life forms you'll encounter in your diplomatic career. Great, Zara muttered, flopping back onto her bed. Just what I need, more reminders of how weird and dangerous Earth is compared to the rest of the galaxy. Now, Xylox chided gently. That's not the right attitude at all. Think of it as an opportunity to educate your classmates about Earth's unique ecosystems. After all, isn't that why you're here? To bridge the gap between Earth and the galactic community.
Zara sighed, knowing her roommate was right. Yeah, I guess so. It's a lot, being the only human here, having everyone look at me like I'm some kind of exotic zoo exhibit.
I understand, Zara, Xylox said, its body turning a sympathetic shade of blue. But remember, you're not alone. You have me, and I'm sure you'll make many more friends soon. Now, why don't we get some rest? Tomorrow is a big day. The next morning came all too soon, announced by a soft, melodious chime that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Zara blearily opened her eyes, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar surroundings. Then the events of the previous day came rushing back, and she sat up with a jolt. Good morning. Zara Xylox's cheerful voice came from across the room. The blobone was already up, its gelatinous body shimmering with what looked like excited anticipation. Are you ready for your first day of classes at Galactic Academy? Zara rubbed her eyes, trying to shake off the last vestiges of sleep. As ready as I'll ever be, I guess. What time is it? It's precisely 0.37 rotations past the galactic standard dawn, Xylox replied helpfully. Zara blinked. Right. And in Earth time, that would be. Xylox's body rippled in what might have been embarrassment. Oh, of course. My apologies. According to the Earth time conversion, it's approximately 7:15 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Thanks, Zara said, climbing out of her sleep pod. She rummaged through her storage unit, pulling out fresh clothes. So, xenobiology first, right? Any last-minute advice? Xylox's eye stalks waved thoughtfully. Ishan, yes. Do try to avoid making any sudden movements around the specimens. Some species interpret rapid motion as a sign of aggression. Oh, and if Professor Zorlak offers you any refreshments, politely decline. Sulfuric acid doesn't agree with most carbon-based life forms. Zara froze in the middle of pulling on her shirt. Wait, what? Sulfuric acid? As in the highly corrosive substance that can literally melt flesh. Precisely, Xylox burbled happily. It's a cultural misunderstanding that comes up every year. Professor Zorlak is from a silicon-based species that evolved on a world with sulfuric acid oceans. He sometimes forgets that not all students share his dietary preferences. Right, Zara said faintly. No accepting drinks from the prof. Got it. Any other potentially lethal cultural misunderstandings I should be aware of? Xylox's body shifted to a reassuring shade of blue. Oh, Zara, you needn't worry so much. The Academy has strict safety protocols in place. Besides, as a Deathworlder, you're much better equipped to handle potential dangers than most of your classmates. You know, Zara said as she finished getting dressed, I'm starting to think that Deathworlder label might be more of a curse than a blessing. Everyone seems to expect me to be some kind of indestructible superhero. Is not indestructible, Xylox corrected, just highly adaptable and resilient, which, from what I understand of Earth's history, is a fair assessment of your species. Before Zara could respond, another chime sounded throughout the room. This one was louder and more insistent than the wake-up call.
Ah, that's the 10-minute warning, Xylox said. We should head to class. The xenobiology lab is on the other side of the campus, and we wouldn't want to be late on our first day.
As they made their way through the winding corridors of Galactic Academy, Zara couldn't help but marvel at the diversity of life forms around her. Students of all shapes, sizes, and compositions hurried to their classes. She saw creatures that looked like walking crystals, others that seemed to be made of living fire, and even a group of what appeared to be sentient gas clouds floating serenely down the hall. This is insane, Zara muttered under her breath. How am I supposed to relate to all these different species? One step at a time, Xylox said encouragingly. Remember, they're all here to learn too. You're not alone in feeling overwhelmed. As they approached the xenobiology lab, Zara noticed a gathering of students outside the entrance. They seemed to be clustered around something, murmuring excitedly in a variety of languages that her universal translator struggled to keep up with. What's going on? She asked Xylox. Oh my, Xylox said, its eye stalks stretching towards the commotion. It appears Professor Zorlak has brought a special specimen for today's class. How exciting. As they got closer, the crowd parted slightly, and Zara got her first look at the special specimen. Her jaw dropped. Floating in what looked like a containment field was a creature unlike anything Zara had ever seen. It was roughly the size of a large dog, but that's where any similarity to Earth life ended. Its body seemed to be composed of swirling, iridescent energy, constantly shifting and reforming. Multiple limbs, Zara counted at least 6, but the number seemed to change every time she blinked, extended from its central mass, each ending in what looked like miniature galaxies. What? What is that? Zara whispered, unable to take her eyes off the creature. That came a gravelly voice from behind them, is a juvenile cosmic weaver, one of the rarest and most fascinating creatures in the known universe. Zara turned to see a being that could only be Professor Zorlak. At least, Zara assumed it was he looked like a cross between a boulder and a crystal formation. His body was rough and craggy, but parts of it gleamed with an inner light that shifted colors as he moved. Professor Zorlak, Xylox greeted, its body rippling in what Zara had learned was a sign of respect. We're honored to have such an extraordinary specimen for our first class. Indeed, Zorlak rumbled, his crystalline eyes fixed on Zara. And you must be our Earth student. Fascinating. I look forward to hearing your perspective on our studies. The biology of a Deathworld must be quite intense. Thanks, Zara said, trying not to fidget under the professor's piercing gaze. I'm looking forward to learning about all this. New life. Zorlak nodded approvingly. An admirable attitude. Now, class, let's begin. Today, we'll be studying the Cosmic Weaver and its unique ability to manipulate space-time fabric. As the professor launched into his lecture, Zara found herself drawn in despite her initial apprehension. The Cosmic Weaver was truly a marvel, capable of weaving small pockets of space-time to create micro-universes. According to Professor Zorlak, adult weavers were responsible for creating some of the most beautiful and complex nebulae in the galaxy. Now, Zorlak said, his crystalline body glinting with excitement, who would like to volunteer to attempt communication with our weaver? The class fell silent. Even the more exotic species seemed hesitant to approach the swirling mass of cosmic energy. Come now, Zorlak encouraged. The juvenile is quite harmless. Its space-time manipulations are not yet strong enough to cause any real damage. At worst, you might experience some mild temporal displacement. Zara found herself raising her hand before she even realized what she was doing. I'll do it, she heard herself say. The entire class turned to stare at her. Xylox's body turned a surprised shade of pink. Excellent, Zorlak boomed. Our Earth student shows true Deathworlder courage. Come forward, please. As Zara approached the containment field, she could hear whispers behind her. Is she crazy?
Well, she is from a death world. This should be interesting.
The cosmic weaver seemed to notice her approach. Its swirling form coalesced slightly, and what Zara assumed were its sensory organs, though it was hard to tell, oriented towards her. Now Zorlak instructed, extend your hand slowly towards the field. The weaver communicates through a form of psychic resonance. You may feel a slight tingling sensation. This is normal. Zara took a deep breath and slowly reached out towards the shimmering containment field. As her fingers neared the barrier, she felt a strange vibration in the air, like silent music thrumming through her bones. The moment her hand made contact with the field, the world around her exploded into a kaleidoscope of colors and sensations. Zara gasped, her mind reeling as it tried to process the flood of alien perceptions.
She saw, felt, heard, tasted the birth of stars, the dance of galaxies, the intricate weave of space-time itself. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly overwhelming. For a moment, Zara forgot who or what she was, lost in the cosmic symphony of the weaver's consciousness.
Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the connection broke. Zara stumbled backward, her head spinning. She would have fallen if Psylocke hadn't quickly oozed behind her, forming a supportive cushion.
Remarkable, Professor Zorlak's voice seemed to come from very far away. In all my years of teaching, I've never seen such a strong first connection. Are you all right, Earth student? Zara blinked, trying to focus on the professor's crystalline form. I think so, she managed to say. That was intense.
Indeed, Zorlak rumbled approvingly. The cosmic weaver seemed quite taken with you as well. It's still focused on your position, see?
Zara looked back at the containment field. Sure enough, the weaver had pressed itself against the barrier closest to her, its swirling form pulsing with what looked like excitement. Is that normal, she asked, a note of worry creeping into her voice.
Before Zorlak could answer, the weaver suddenly pulsed brightly. The containment field flickered, and for a heart-stopping moment, Zara thought it might fail entirely. Then, just as quickly, everything stabilized.
Fascinating, Zorlak murmured. It seems our young weaver has taken quite a liking to you, Earth student. Perhaps it senses a kindred spirit, one accustomed to navigating dangerous and unpredictable environments.
The rest of the class had backed away, eyeing Zara with a mixture of awe and apprehension. She could hear them whispering among themselves. Did you see that?
The Deathworlder communed with a cosmic weaver.
Maybe humans aren't just primitive savages after all. Zara felt a flush of pride, mixed with a twinge of annoyance at the primitive savage's comment. She turned to Psylocke, who was still supporting her. Thanks for the save, Rumi.
Psylocke's body rippled with what Zara was learning to recognize as pleasure. Of course. That's what friends are for, isn't it? Besides, I must admit, your interaction with the weaver was quite impressive. Perhaps there are advantages to being a Deathworlder after all. As the class continued, with other students taking turns much more cautiously to interact with the cosmic weaver, Zara found herself lost in thought. The connection she had experienced was unlike anything she had ever imagined. It had been terrifying, yes, but also exhilarating. For the first time since arriving at Galactic Academy, she felt like she truly belonged here, among the stars and the infinite wonders of the universe. The rest of the day passed in a blur of new experiences and information. In galactic history, Zara learned about the rise and fall of interstellar empires that made Earth's entire recorded history seem like a blink of an eye. In xenolinguistics, she struggled to wrap her tongue and mind around languages that operated on entirely different conceptual frameworks than anything on Earth. By the time she collapsed onto her bed that evening, Zara's brain felt like it was about to explode from information overload.
So, Psylocke bubbled cheerfully from its side of the room. How was your first day at Galactic Academy? Zara groaned, throwing an arm over her eyes. It was a lot. I feel like I've learned more today than in my entire life on Earth, and also like I know less than ever before, if that makes any sense.
Psylocke's body shifted to a soothing blue color. It makes perfect sense, Zara. The more we learn about the universe, the more we realize how much there is still to discover. It's what makes science so exciting.
I suppose, Zara mumbled. Then, sitting up suddenly, she added, Hey, Psylocke, can I ask you something? Of course. Inquiries and the pursuit of knowledge are the very essence of academic life, after all.
Zara rolled her eyes at her roommate's enthusiasm but pressed on. Earlier in xenobiology class, was what happened with the Cosmic Weaver really that unusual? Everyone seemed pretty shocked. Xylox was silent for a moment, its form shifting through various shades of purple as it considered the question. Finally, it settled on a deep indigo. To be entirely honest, Zara, it was quite extraordinary. Cosmic weavers are notoriously difficult to communicate with, even for species with highly developed psychic abilities. For a human species not known for psychic prowess to establish such a strong connection on the first try, well, it's unprecedented.
Zara frowned, picking at a loose thread on her bedspread. But why me? I'm nothing special, just a regular human from a Deathworld that everyone seems to think is terrifying. Xylox oozed closer, its eye stalks regarding Zara with what seemed like a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Perhaps that's precisely why, Zara, you humans have evolved in an environment that most species in the galaxy would find unimaginably hostile. You've developed a resilience and adaptability that is quite remarkable. But what does that have to do with communicating with a Cosmic Weaver? Think about it, Xylox continued. Cosmic Weavers exist in a state of constant flux, navigating the chaotic currents of space-time. In a way, their entire existence is not unlike life on a Deathworld full of constant challenges and changes. Perhaps the Weaver recognized in you a kindred spirit, a being accustomed to thriving in what others would consider impossible conditions. Zara sat back, mulling over Xylox's words. She had never thought of Earth that way before. Sure, she knew her planet had its dangers: earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, not to mention the myriad of creatures that could kill you in an instant. But to her, that was just normal. The background radiation of everyday life. She said finally. I guess I never really thought about it like that. On Earth, we're so used to dealing with potential dangers that we don't even think about it most of the time. It's just life. Xylox's body brightened to a cheerful yellow. Exactly. And that, my dear roommate, is what makes you and your species so fascinating to the rest of us. You navigate chaos and danger with an ease that most of us can barely comprehend. It's quite admirable, really. Zara felt a warmth spreading through her chest at Xylox's words. For the first time since arriving at Galactic Academy, she felt a real sense of pride in her heritage, in being human. Thanks, Xylox, she said, smiling at her blobby friend. You know, for a sentient pudding cup, you're pretty wise. Xylox's form rippled with amusement. And for a terrifying Deathworlder, you're quite charming. I have a feeling this is going to be a most interesting academic year. As Zara settled into her sleep pod that night, her mind was awhirl with the events of the day. The Cosmic Weaver, the strange new alien species she'd encountered, the vast gulfs of knowledge she had yet to explore. It was all simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. But as she drifted off to sleep, one thought rose above the rest: maybe being a Deathworlder wasn't such a bad thing after all. Maybe, just maybe, it was her greatest strength.
The next morning, Zara woke to the now familiar chime of the Academy's wake-up call. As she blearily rubbed her eyes, she became aware of an unusual commotion outside their dorm room.
Xylox, she called out, sitting up in her sleep pod. Do you hear that?
Her roommate, who had been peacefully bubbling in the corner, extended an eye stalk towards the door. Indeed I do, Zara. It seems there's quite a gathering in the hallway. How curious.
Curiosity overcoming her lingering drowsiness, Zara quickly got dressed and moved to the door. As it slid open, she was met with a sea of alien faces, or what passed for faces among the diverse species at Galactic Academy. Can I help you?" she asked, trying to keep the bewilderment out of her voice. A chorus of excited chatter erupted in response. Zara's universal translator struggled to keep up with the cacophony of alien languages. Is it true you communed with a Cosmic Weaver? Can you teach us the Deathworld way of psychic resistance? Will you be my lab partner in xenobiology? Zara blinked, overwhelmed by the barrage of questions and attention. She felt a gentle pressure on her back and realized Xylox had oozed up behind her in a show of support. Now, Xylox burbled authoritatively, let's not overwhelm our esteemed classmate. I'm sure Zara will be happy to discuss her experiences during appropriate academic hours. For now, we should all prepare for today's classes. The crowd reluctantly began to disperse, though many of the aliens continued to shoot curious glances at Zara as they left. "Thanks," Zara muttered to Silox as they made their way to the dining hall for breakfast. "I didn't expect that." Xylox's body shimmered with what Zara was learning to interpret as amusement. News travels fast in the Academy, especially news as exciting as a human successfully communing with a cosmic weaver. "I dare say you've become something of a celebrity overnight." Zara groaned. "Great, just what I needed. More attention for being the weird Earthling." "Oh, I wouldn't say weird," Xylox corrected cheerfully. "More like fascinating or unexpectedly talented. You should embrace it, Zara. This could be an excellent opportunity to change perceptions about humans and Earth." As they entered the dining hall, Zara couldn't help but notice the hush that fell over the room. Hundreds of alien eyes and other sensory organs turned towards her. She could feel her face heating up under the scrutiny. "Right," she muttered. "Embrace it. Sure, no pressure or anything." She was saved from further embarrassment by the arrival of Crixix, the insectoid student she had met during orientation. Crixix buzzed up to them, antennae quivering with excitement. "Zara." "Silox, did you hear the news?" Crixix chittered. "If you mean the news about Zara's interaction with the Cosmic Weaver, I believe the entire Academy has heard by now," Xylox replied, a hint of pride in its voice. No, Crixix waved a multi-jointed limb dismissively. "I mean the news about the Earth delegation." Zara, who had been in the process of trying to figure out how to eat the gelatinous mass on her breakfast tray, nearly choked. "The what now?" Crixix's compound eyes gleamed with excitement. "An official delegation from Earth is coming to the Academy. Apparently, they heard about your success with the Cosmic Weaver and decided to send representatives to discuss expanding Earth's participation in galactic academia." Zara felt her stomach drop. An Earth delegation? Here? Now? She wasn't prepared for this. She had barely figured out how to navigate alien biology classes, let alone act as some kind of ambassador for her entire planet. When she managed to croak out, "They're scheduled to arrive this afternoon," Crixix buzzed. "The whole Academy is buzzing with excitement, no pun intended. This is the first official Earth delegation to visit a galactic institution of higher learning." Zara turned to Xylox, panic rising in her chest. "What am I going to do? I'm not ready for this. I'm just a student, not a diplomat." Xylox's form shifted to a calming blue hue. "Take a deep breath, Zara. Or several, if your respiratory system requires it. This is unexpected, yes, but it's also an incredible opportunity. You've already done more to improve human-galactic relations in 2 days than most diplomats achieve in years." "But I didn't do anything," Zara protested. "I just touched a containment field and saw some weird space stuff." "Precisely," Xylox bubbled encouragingly. "You did what came naturally to you, and in doing so, you've opened up new avenues of interspecies understanding. That's what diplomacy is all about." Crixix nodded enthusiastically, antennae bobbing. "Xylox is right. You don't need to be a formal diplomat, Zara. Just be yourself, the human who can commune with cosmic weavers and survive on a Deathworld. That's more than interesting enough." As the news spread throughout the Academy, Zara found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Classes were suspended for the day in preparation for the Earth delegation's arrival. Students and faculty alike were abuzz with excitement and speculation. Zara, for her part, felt like she was caught in a surreal dream. Just days ago, she had been a normal teenager on Earth, nervous about starting at an alien school. Now, she was apparently some kind of accidental ambassador for her entire species. As the appointed time for the delegation's arrival drew near, Zara found herself standing in the grand atrium alongside the Academy's highest-ranking officials. Dean Zyxon's holographic form loomed beside her, radiating an aura of calm authority. "Remember, Earth student," the Dean's melodious voice echoed in her mind. "You have already proven yourself to be an exceptional representative of your species. Simply be yourself, and all will be well." Zara nodded, trying to draw strength from the Dean's words. She glanced around at the assembled crowd, a dizzying array of alien life forms, all waiting with bated breath, or whatever passed for breath, among their species for the arrival of the humans. As she scanned the crowd, her eyes fell on a group of students huddled together near the back of the atrium. They seemed to be whispering urgently among themselves, shooting furtive glances in her direction. Zara recognized one of them as Zix Tal, an upperclassman known for his rather traditional views on interspecies relations. Suddenly, Zara's enhanced hearing, a gift from her Deathworld heritage, picked up a snippet of their conversation. Can't let this continue, Zixtal was saying, his mandibles clicking angrily. If we don't do something soon, they'll be letting all sorts of primitive species into the academy. We need to make an example of this human, but how another alien, a gelatinous being similar to Xylox but with a sickly green coloration, oozed nervously. She's become quite popular, and now with this Earth delegation coming. Leave that to me, Zixtal hissed. By the end of the week, I'll make sure this Deathworlder is expelled from Galactic Academy, one way or another. Zara felt her blood run cold. She had known that not everyone would be welcoming, but this was outright hostility. Before she could process what she'd heard, a hush fell over the atrium. A shimmering portal began to form in the center of the room, growing larger by the second. This was it. The moment of truth. Whatever happened next would shape the future of human galactic relations for years to come. And apparently she had made some enemies who were determined to see her fail. As the portal stabilized, Zara caught her first glimpse of the Earth delegation stepping through. Her heart raced, a mix of excitement, fear, and determination coursing through her veins. One thing was certain: her time at Galactic Academy had just gotten a lot more complicated.